Four Knights of the Apocalypse chapter 193 is officially out, and this was another good chapter, a nice wind down chapter, getting the tension and excitement of the recent fight down a level, everybody calming down, everybody just having general character interactions and having a few build-ups to potential story beats, and the start of the next matchup, which is Tristan versus Isolda. Some funny moments, character building and interactions. It was overall just a very chill chapter, and it was definitely needed after the intensity that was Balin versus Gawain. So I'm all here for it. But before we jump into the actual chapter, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And if you want to see me talk about American comic books, go and check out my second channel, GW Comics, where I talk about mainly DC and some Marvel stuff, with more comics from different publishers and lines coming in the future. Also, I just jumped back onto the Panel Focus podcast with my friends Nox, Yatogami, and Papa Traffy to talk about 9 different manga from 3 different magazines. If you're interested, the links will be in the description down below for the podcast. Please check it out. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Now then, on to the chapter. Chapter 193 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled For Whom. Cover image is just Balin just in the dust and debris from Gawain's massive attack, still knocked out, which I find still kind of hilarious. And fully solidifying that Gawain did manage to knock him down, as we get the official announcement that Balon has been knocked down. And Percival and Tristan incredibly impressed to see how she was able to win, and glad that she won. With Beltrup questioning who Gawain is, who is she and why is she making my heart race? Obviously alluding to the fact that Gawain is gonna end up having to fight Beltrup at some point in the future, like how in Arthurian legend Gawain fights the Green Knight, and now that we know that she is Escanor's daughter, her uncle Beltrup was actually Daemon, Escanor's older brother, so fate is definitely pushing these two to have a big confrontation if we haven't already known this to begin with. But now it's Beltrup basically admitting to us that he's getting kind of excited to potentially fight Gawain. Gawain lands down in front of Balin, saying that she might have gone a bit too far, but hey, it's your fault for pushing me to this point, right? You won't wake up for a good while, but you've earned my respect at least. You know, Gawain being incredibly cocky, saying that now that she won, you've earned my respect for pushing me this far, But right as Gawain says he's going to be out for a while, Balin just pops right up like nothing's happened, saying, "Oh, it's quite an honor that you give me your respect," and this completely freaks Gawain out as a whole. But in a very small panel, we actually see Balin pick Gawain up with his hand and plops her on his shoulder, which is getting her kind of annoyed, making it seem like he's trying to shame her. And Gawain flat out admitting that Balin is probably just way too tough. After that huge beating he just got up like it's nothing. But Balin, I think, is either being incredibly modest or is being truthful. I think he's being a bit more modest by saying that right now he can barely stand, which, yeah, no, not true. I guess he just has quick recovery, as even Gawain ain't buying it. And I love how the announcer Gother is just making a joke of it, making it like a chick on the back of her mother, which Gawain is just really getting pissed off at people just laughing at her in this situation. A nice bit of comedy is definitely needed after the intensity. But Percival then runs up to Gawain, saying that she was awesome and that was a great fight, and that she's grown way stronger from 2 years ago. But I like how Gawain is trying to downplay it, like, well, I mean, thank you, but I could have at least done this much, obviously. With Percival offering to heal up the two of them, but Gawain saying, hey, you should heal Balin first, he deserves it. With Balin saying that Gawain definitely deserves it more. And I love how the two of them are just going back and forth over who needs the healing more. As Percival's like, maybe I should kind of heal the two of you at the exact same time. And I love how the two of them in this instance share a singular brain cell, as Balin and Gawain just says, oh, that's actually a really great idea. As Percival heals him with his powers, I love how these two are already about on the same wavelength when it comes to things. I love it. And it's just then that the rest of the group show up to kind of say how Gawain basically had them worried and how they're kind of proud that she's grown so strong and that she did such a great fight and how she's not a Knight of Prophecy for nothing, which definitely gets Gawain kind of flustered up with everybody coming in to check on her and praise her like that. Obviously something that she's not too used to, you know, kind of for the most part, being a loner except for Escanor and Gawain acting like her grandparents. But still, it's a sweet moment. And I love how Donnie's kind of laughing at her, saying that her hair looks like a bomb went off and she's kind of freaking the hell out. But Percival then whispers over to Keon, And funnily enough, Keon isn't annoyed at Percival. And so Percival points towards Gawain as Keon used his water spirit, Undine, to just trounce Gawain in water, to kind of wash away the dirt and grime and also straighten out her hair for the most part. And I love how she instantly goes to try and attack Keon, but Keon surprisingly just says, wait, look, it wasn't me, Percival told me to do it. And it's an interesting thing, but Keon isn't being a dick to Percival. I think it's probably a combination of what Percival went through in the past. In fact, the Percival is a life spirit, so Keon probably has more respect for Percival now. So I guess he sees him in a better light. And overall, Keon, still kind of a prick, not so much a dick. Which, character development, I guess. But after Gawain gets trounced with water, Balin smirks and says, I much prefer your real self, you know. As we get an image of Gawain after getting washed, and I'm not gonna lie, and while I like Gawain's post-time skip design, you know, with the hair, her long hair kind of being straight down is also a pretty good look. So I'm fine with either design, whichever Nakaba goes for in the future. And Gawain is instantly flustered by this compliment, which she blushes, and Percival's kind of making fun of her for it, as she then begins to get pissed and then proceeds to chase after Percival to kind of get back at him for this prank, as Gawain grabs Percival and gets Keon to just douse Percival in a bunch of water like he did to her, which is hilarious. Definitely a nice little callback to when the two of them first met in the fight against Gawain in the Leonis arc, where after Percival blew up Gawain, Gawain was chasing him around trying to kick his ass because he got in the way and got her caught up in the explosion. All while everyone in the background is just kind of laughing and having a good time seeing all this. As Tristan is saying, I wonder if I had a partner I could laugh and carry on with like that. All with fake Isolda in the background and real Isolda right next to him as they're both kind of silent, looking in his direction. And this does show that the brainwashing from the fake Isolda is kind of not holding too much weight, because he is very curious over his own past, and seeing this whole group just acting the way that they're acting is hitting him with some sense of nostalgia that he wants, and I kind of like that. But it's then that Gareth goes over to Balin saying, I never expected you of all people to get beaten in such a way. And this conversation is going on while Gawain is still just trying to get back at Percival for that prank. I didn't say this before. Gawain and Percival act so much like siblings that I say screw Theodora. Gawain being Percival's sister with these interactions fits so well that you would just throw a random panel to someone that has never seen the series, they'd probably assume that they were siblings to begin with. And this is something that siblings would just do. But Balin is telling Gareth that he did blow this fight, but he thinks he finally found what he was looking for. The person that will change his destiny. Again, destiny. I'm curious to see what that could potentially be, mainly because we don't know much about Balin at all. So it seems like it's not based on his ability full-heartedly, so there's definitely more information that we have yet to learn. And Balin also understands what Hauser was telling him before during their fight, as he then goes up to Gawain, grabs her hand, holds it out, and says, I've pursued power for so long. I've built all this up, and now I've decided to use it for you. As An, Nazienz, and Gareth are kind of shocked, almost like they kind of know what Balin is saying, with Hauser just whistling like he's so impressed. As Gawain, seemingly about to give some sort of answer, just says, "Aw, well goodness, you're volunteering to become my henchman? Perfect then. You're hired. I can't wait to use and abuse your dumb ass." And everybody in the background is just like, what the hell, man? What the heck? All while Gawain just seems completely oblivious to what just gone on. And I just love these types of comedic moments where everybody kind of understands and reads the room, yet the one person is just being incredibly dense. As An just knows that why did she take it that way? All while Tristan is saying, man, they're having a lot of fun. Don't you think so, Isolda? Talking to the fake Isolda. Now, really quick, I think that Balin might have started gaining feelings for Gawain in this instance. It's very possible. Or he's just literally vowing to be her knight, essentially. Someone to kind of support her every single chance he gets, after seeing her strength and how she took him down in a seemingly impossible situation. Or it could literally just be the fact that he is now smitten with Gawain in this instance, and Gawain has no actual romantic feelings for the guy whatsoever and cannot tell, since she does not understand the concept of love at this point. So she's definitely incredibly oblivious and dense to Balin's true intentions seemingly, and I find that hilarious. Now, Gawain, not interested in guys, so Gawain x Balin, not gonna be a thing, unless Nakama chickens out and changes things, but we'll see what happens in the future. But this does set us up for Gawain basically having her own platoon now. It's a platoon of one, but hey, she still basically recruited a very powerful member right off the bat, and that's pretty cool. And that makes 3 out of the 4 knights having their own squads. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if Gareth not only either joins Percival's squad, but might end up joining Gawain's squad, potentially. I would like Gawain to have somebody else, but she's gotten more chemistry and time with Balin, so it makes sense for the two of them to be in a team together. And I kind of like that. It gives Gawain more than a solo act, even though she is technically, I guess spiritually, a part of Team Percival in a sense, post-time skip, but now she can be her own squad at this point, which I like. I enjoy, and I guess you can put Dubs in there too, since she has a connection to Dubs. But still, I like this addition, and it's cool, and it shows that Balin is going to stick around for the long haul, which I'm happy with. We'll end up diving deeper into his character as the story continues. But going back to Tristan and the fake Isolda, the fake Isolda is pausing as she ends up having a flashback to when she was a little girl hugging her father, with her father saying that as her dad, that he's honed his sword skills so that he can aim for the top, and he's going to use what he's learned in order to protect her. And remembering this, obviously from looking at everybody being so close and basically supporting each other, the fake Isolda starts to tear up, but tries to compose herself. Tristan ends up going towards her and saying, "You know, Lord Beltrop is your father, isn't he?" As Tristan obviously puts things together. But Isolda, fake Isolda, says, "Oh, what does it matter? That man doesn't even recall who I am now. And he has forgotten me. He's as good as a stranger now." Now, Tristan, being the compassionate and more emotionally in-depth person that he is, tries to come up with a reason, saying that her father might have a reason for it. There's no way he would just abandon the child that he would love so much. But the fake Isolda tells him to shut up and that she doesn't want to talk about it anymore, as this catches the attention of the rest of the squad. And this does add a bit more into the group trying to piece together the situation right now. But the fake Isolda just says right now all she has is Tristan, or Tantris, telling him to fight for her and to win it all too. And I like how On, still sticking up for our Isolda, says, are you really gonna let her say all those things to him and just throw herself at him? But Isolda just walks away towards the arena as she's up next, as we don't really get an image of her eyes as she seems relatively stone-faced, trying not to let this bother her. And obviously this is bothering her, but still. We now begin the quarter-final matchup, and the winner will go on to face Gawain in the semi-finals, as Tristan versus Isolda begins. But Tristan ends up telling her that he does owe her for helping out with Isolda, and he doesn't want to fight her, but those are the rules. The fight officially begins as Isolda lunges at Tristan, with Tristan blocking with his sword. As the two of them begin to clash, mace to sword, back and forth, with Isolda managing to hold her own against Tristan. He hasn't landed a single blow on her, but the same goes both ways. She can't land a hit on him. They keep blocking and parrying their own moves and evading, as this shocks the main group, saying they're pretty in tune with each other, and it's like a performance. With Kion saying, yeah, of course that's the case. She's sparred with Tristan in sword training all the time. She's far more well versed in swords and close quarters battle than Kion or Jade. So this shows that out of everybody in his platoon, Isolda is the one that has trained with Tristan the most and has the highest proficiency for combat out of all of them. Kind of makes sense. Jade never seemed like a straight up fighter. He more so obscures opponents' visions to get himself an advantage. And Kion, he's more of a summoner. He tends to hang back for the most part when it comes to fighting. He's not a big of a close quarters specialist. Isolda, with her magic ability, she has to get in close. So it makes sense that with Tristan also being a close quarter specialist with his blades and even hand-to-hand combat at times, it makes sense that the two of them would train all the time. And I love how, just based off of pure muscle memory, the two of them are just going blow for blow in this instance, not landing any hits on the other, showing that they know each other's fighting skills. Even if Tristan doesn't remember or know it, they've trained for so long that her skills and the way that she fights is ingrained in his muscle memory, and he can tell what to do to counter. And Isolda does the same, considering that she's helped train Tristan for years at this point. And that's really, really good. But An, after hearing this, says it doesn't matter now, okay? Isolda needs him to remember her already. She needs to urge him some more. And I love An being the most supportive friend to Isolda in this instance, as right now she knows that Isolda is hurting right now, seeing Tristan not remember her or her friends, and being with someone else who's quite obviously manipulating him. So there's definitely some tension there. And it is important for Isolda to manage to kind of snap Tristan out of it or lead him to his memories coming back. But back to the fight, Tristan and Isolda stop for a second as Tristan says, "I can tell you know me. I'd like to try and remember you as well." But Isolda says something interesting, saying it's fine. There's no need to try and recall me at all. As the chapter ends on Isolda. Now, honestly, I don't know what this can mean. Either Isolda is giving up on trying to urge him through her actions, or is just trying to see if Tristan will figure this out on his own. Either that, or she's accepted that Tristan might not be back to his full self and might actually care for this other girl and all that shit. I'm not so sure. She might have a grander plan, but it all just comes down to what's going on in the future. And even Tristan can't be able to tell that Isolda understands him and knows more about him, and he wants to know, but it's interesting to say the least. I want to see what Nakaba's going for with this. It is interesting, but he has to nail this, because if not the fight with Isolda, then it has to be either against Gawain or Percival, where Tristan finally breaks out of the brainwashing and remembers who he is, because this can't go on for too long. Anyway, this fight, I predict it'll be a max 2 chapters. Next chapter, continue the fight, go into flashbacks, nudging Tristan to remember, and then the final chapter of this fight will be Tristan beating Isolda. Unless Nakaba goes with something right out the wing and Isolda manages to somehow beat Tristan, but I don't think so. Either way, great chapter. I love the Balin and Gawain interactions. Balin being part of her team now and basically joining the main group now that he lost to her. Perfect. Great comedic moments between the entirety of the main cast. Percival and Gawain being incredibly sibling-coded is adorable, and Gawain's look with her hair down, also great. Overall, fun chapter, nice wind down getting into the next matchup, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen next. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel, shows you want to see more. And with all that said and done, I'll see you guys for the next chapter.